Hi, I'm Maraza, and welcome to What's Cookin Cranford. Today we're visiting the firehouse along with Lieutenant Matt Lubin. Thank you so much for having us here.
Well, thank you guys for coming down here, especially this month. It's Fire Prevention Month, and we're thrilled to have you here to talk about fire safety.
Absolutely, and that's why we're here. Can you give us an idea of the theme this year?
Yes. For those of you who don't know, Fire Prevention Week is always the first week of October. It actually commemorates the Great Chicago Fire. Hundreds of lives were lost, thousands of pieces of property were lost. It was really one of the most significant fires in the country's history. It also commemorates some other significant fires that happened subsequent to that, where there was a large loss of life or property. And many of those were related to blocked exits, improper use of cigarettes, candles, and things that basically form the fire code as we know it. So we celebrate Fire Prevention Month in Cranford. We have so many schools, we can't get to all of them in a week. And this year's theme, which was announced over the summer, is Hear the Beep Where You Sleep.
So obviously it's important to have a smoke alarm, but can you explain to our residents how often they have to change a smoke alarm, or the lifetime of the battery in a smoke alarm?
Yeah, good question. Smoke detectors now, there's a couple different ones on the market. Some of them have a 10-year battery in it. It's a lithium battery. You don't have to change the battery at all. And it is a 10-year battery because that is the lifespan of a smoke alarm. The technology in there that detects the smoke starts to lose its sensitivity in 10 years. So anything that's in your home that's older than 10 years needs to be replaced. And if you're not sure, it's probably a good idea to replace it. The date of the manufacture of the smoke alarm is always on the back, but it's usually in like size 2 font, and no one can ever read it. So if you don't know, it's a good idea to replace it. So for smoke alarms that have a removable battery, whether it be a 9-volt battery or AA's, you want to replace those batteries at least once a year. We tell people twice a year, when you change your clocks, change your batteries. It's an easy way to remember to change them. You should at least test the smoke alarms monthly to make sure they're working.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that tip. I see you have a couple things here. Do you think you can demonstrate to us, all of these items?
Yeah, absolutely. We collect these things from incidents where there was what we call a human factor involved. We go there, we find a small fire or what is shortly going to be a fire because of human error. Most people hear about electrical fires. When a house burns down, oh, it was an electrical fire. They think it's like the wires in the walls. But 90% of the time, it is a result of an overloaded power strip or extension cord. Now, Cranford is an old town, a lot of old homes. Nobody has enough outlets in their house. We all know that we need these. I have them in my house. But these are really meant for low electrical draw appliances. So what are they? They're little desk lamps. They're good for an iPhone. Things that I tell people, if it heats up or cools down, it's too much of a draw for this. So mini refrigerators we find in these, space heaters, a huge no-no. Microwaves, toasters, they will overload these. Again, this is actually a UL listed one. We tell people always buy a UL listed because it's gone through laboratory testing. This was UL listed. It was used for a coffee pot. This got wet, so it damaged the wiring, and in the middle of the night, this created a smoke condition in the house. This would have been a fire if the residents weren't home.
Wow.
It didn't call us. This would not trip the circuit breaker because it's really not drawing too much electricity. It's just a damaged, overloaded power strip. Same thing with this. These get overloaded very quickly. This was actually powering a stereo system in about half of a bedroom, and it was overloaded. If the people weren't home, they would have had a house fire.
Now, do you recommend also maybe checking these and replacing them after a certain amount of time?
Yes, good question. What you want to do is always check the wiring. You want to see the insulation, that's this rubber coating, should be intact all the way. There should be no damage to the actual cord itself. You also want to look at the power strip. Any kind of, this is obviously melted, but any kind of physical damage, it's time to replace it. Same thing with extension cords. These are really important because people tend to put these under rugs. People walk over them and it wears the insulation down. So you always want to periodically go through the whole cord, just make sure all the insulation's intact.
Okay, great. And how about computers? Because I myself, I'm guilty probably of having like a computer and a printer on this. Is that okay, not okay?
Yeah,
or-
I mean, they're really meant for a home office.
Okay.
There are specialized computer power strips which have surge protectors in them and circuit breakers that will trip if there's an overload. And they're going to trip before the circuit breaker in your home will. So
Okay.
we recommend that you buy one that's made for office use. And it'll say it right on the packaging.
Okay, great.
Everybody, Fire Prevention Month, it's geared towards residences and fires in the home. The two leading causes of fires in the home, one of them is electrical, the other one is cooking fires. So this is something that we teach in Cranford in our 8th grade classes. We actually go around and teach them an easy way to put out a pan fire. Now, these fires happen because of distraction. Someone goes to answer the door, answers the phone, and you have a pan with grease on the stove. Eventually, there's what we call a flash point. The grease will heat up to the point at which it will just ignite. It'll create a lot of smoke, and normally it's going to ignite because we're not paying attention. So it's going to catch us by surprise, and we're going to come back and find a fire on our stove.
Okay.
Now, if you think about your home, think about your homes, what is around your stove? The first thing I want everyone to think about is do a self-assessment of their kitchen. If you had something on the stove that caught fire, what would be the next object to catch fire? We want to make sure that combustible materials, paper towels, dish towels, they're nowhere near the cooking surface because it will spread to them. A fire in a pan, until it really grows to a big size, is pretty much contained, and I'm going to show you how. It's really good to get in the habit, even if you're not going to use a lid as part of the cooking process, to have a pan lid that fits the pan.
Okay.
Because the easiest way, say we're cooking, and this is just an alcohol fire, there's no smoke. Say we're cooking, we're caught by surprise, we have a pan fire. I can use the pan lid and protect myself and just slide it right over the fire to put it out.
Okay.
And I'm completely protected from the flames. Now, the important thing is at this point to turn off the burner and move it off the heat. And now, believe it or not, people do actually do this enough. But what they do is they're embarrassed that they had this happen, and they go right to the garbage can and throw it in the garbage can.
Oh.
So now we have a contained fire. It's out. As soon as we put the hot oil into the garbage can, we have a really big problem because it's not contained. So it's important to let the pan cool. Don't touch it till it's cool. If there's a lot of smoke in the house, please call the fire department. If at any time you think the fire spread to anything around the stove or in the walls, call us. We will come out and double check.
Okay, great. That's a very helpful hint.
Yeah, it's
I'm
an easy
probably
one too.
guilty of cooking with like a million things all over and
Everybody is. The cookbook, the paper towels. The other thing we want to remind everybody, when you are cooking on the stove, your pot handle should always be inward because you don't want to bump into them. If you have kids in the house or pets in the house, they're prone to come up and they can knock the pan over and spill. Aside from burn injuries, it could start a fire in the kitchen.
okay, great. I see you have a fire extinguisher here.
Yes, this is for when we don't have the fitting pot lid or we did everything right, we decided we're going to put it in the garbage can, and now we have a fire in the kitchen. Everyone should have a fire extinguisher in their house.
Okay.
What we want to emphasize is this is no replacement for the fire department. Okay, a fire will double in size in seconds. The most important thing to do, if you have a fire that you think you need an extinguisher for, is probably to get out of the house, get everybody out and call the fire department.
Okay.
But we want to make sure everybody knows how to use this because there are times where this can really save a lot of trouble. Now, this is a carbon dioxide fire extinguisher. We use these in the fire service. It doesn't make a mess. The ones in your homes it's a powder-based substance that will have a chemical reaction and put the fire out. They make quite a mess, so we use these for training because
Okay.
there's no mess. So what we do, and everybody has these in their workplace, but nobody really gets the training on how to use them. So we'll go out and train people to remember the acronym PASS, P-A-S-S.
Okay.
P stands for pull the pin, A stands for aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, S stands for squeeze the handle, and the other S stands for sweep back and forth. So I'll demonstrate on our same fire. Our pin is out. We're going to aim it at the base of the fire, standing back enough so we're safe. We're going to squeeze the handle and sweep back and forth. And the fire's out. Now again, if we've used the fire extinguisher and we've put the fire out, we still need to call the fire department, because we need to come and make sure the fire is actually out. It didn't spread to anywhere. We have all kinds of sophisticated tools to make sure that the fire is out. And again, this is a training fire. There's no smoke. If this is happening in your home or your place of work, there's going to be a lot of smoke.
Okay.
So we're going to need to come and take the smoke out.
All right, excellent. And I know I have a fire extinguisher in my home. I'm sure a lot of people do. Is there any, like, you have to update it or make sure that it's, still, I guess, serviceable or?
Yeah, so in your home, basically your best tool is the gauge on the fire extinguisher. Mm-hmm. If that gauge is showing green, the fire extinguisher should be good. There's really no set lifespan. They base it on, if it's been stored properly at room temperature, it should last for years. But you do want to check the gauge and make sure it's green. If you have a business or commercial occupancy, they actually need to be tested every year, and you'll see a tag on it with the current year or within 12 months of that day, indicating that it was inspected and tested.